Project A is something that's been hyped up for a while. We've now actually seen gameplay. Okay, it's actually going to be called Valorant. They're dropping the Project A, and the game is going to be called Valorant. It's being produced by Riot Games, the makers of League of Legends, and there's a ton of hype around this, and understandably so. I mean, League of Legends is the biggest game in the world. Is that fair to say? It's one of, if not the biggest game in the world. I think it's widely regarded as one of the most popular esport titles in the world. You know, it's up there definitely with CS:GO, as far as that is compared. So they released the first gameplay we've seen today, and maybe I'll show that on the YouTube version of this. I'm not sure. At least I'll try and show a snippet as we're talking about it here. But yeah, what did you guys think about what you saw from the gameplay?
I like Pete's initial reaction.
I was shocked actually when I saw the first bit of this. Flank said to me before we went live, "Oh, have you seen the gameplay?" So Zyronic sent me over the YouTube URL. I clicked on. I was like, "It's like CS:GO." I was like, basically mega disappointed, to be honest with you. And really, right from the start of the video, it just looks kind of like CS:GO. Basically, you're running around with a knife, and then just. I don't know. Maybe someone else sees something different, but CS:GO plus Overwatch is what I'm seeing. What did I say? What was my reaction, Zoronik? I actually forget now.
So why does it feel like I'm watching CS:GO with heroes?
Yeah. It's the CS:GO with heroes is basically what I thought. But you know, I understand that that's pretty ignorant of me to just perhaps say that, and it might turn out to be an amazing game. But that is my first reaction to that trailer.
I mean, I played a lot of CS, and I'm in the same boat. My issue with that game it's not even the art style, the layout, or the fact that, I mean, seemingly they haven't really invented anything for the game. It's not like it has much new stuff. I just don't like their PR with we're going to war against Pika's advantage, or we know that tick rate is important. It feels like they're just kind of living off these buzzwords that need context to mean anything. There's a beautiful video out on YouTube somewhere where I think it's 3Click Phillips, I think he's called, a CS guy who talks about a test they did in CS where they had people try 128 tick, 64 tick, and a 40 tick placebo, I think it was. In a custom game. And so in CS you can tell your tick rate by how your smoke grenades throw, because there are certain smokes that you can only throw on 128 tick because the physics works different, and your movement works a little bit different. So your strafe jumping will be much better on 128 tick than on 64. But they turned all of that off in a custom game, and then all of a sudden no one could tell.
Interesting.
And that's with shooting other players, that's with shooting bots, that's literally the best test environment you could possibly be in. And people got it right less than chance. And this is like, it was open to the entire CS community. So people can go out and research and find data on this if they want. But it's just, like, the tick rate means something, but it only means something if you compare it to everything else, right? Like, how's a lag comp set up? How does the game react to 100 millisecond ping difference? Also, when they say that, they put out a statement there saying that 70% of the players would get 35 ping or less. So when you say ping, do you mean the latency or do you mean round trip time? Because Siege used to show us round trip time, if I remember correctly. It used to show us like the way to the server and the way back. And I think now it shows the way to the server and not the return. And like, people felt like they got lower ping when that was implemented, but it was just because it only shows one way instead. So a lot of these technical terms they're throwing out there, like, you got to be really into this stuff to really keep up and understand, like, if it has a value or not. I don't even get half of it, man. And when you sit there and read about it, it just seems like it's this cheap blow at every other game for, we're going to get it right. We're going to have anti-cheat on launch. I mean, fair enough. They got a 1-up on Siege for that one because it took a while for us. But dude, there's going to be cheaters. There's going to be cheaters 2 days into that game, 100%. If it's going to be competitive, they're going to be there. There's going to be people that complain about their ping, the lag, whatever. Quake had very, very low tick rate. I never, ever, when I played Quake 3 Arena, heard anyone complain about lag. Unless people were skipping around on the screen, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I hope it's going to be a good game, because the more good games we have, the better it is for the entire community. I just think it's getting a lot of hype that isn't earned yet. It's a lot of empty words so far.
Yeah, I understand the hype to a certain degree. Like, whenever I see that Riot Games is making it, I'm excited because I don't play League of Legends, but I do know that they obviously League of Legends is a very successful game. I know that that it's a very polished game. Whenever they're releasing new content and stuff, it's like it just seems like Riot Games does a really good job of making really polished games and products. And as a first-person shooter fan, the fact that they are entering the first-person shooter market, it does make me somewhat excited. I saw some headlines that were comparing it to Siege, and I don't look at that. I don't see how you can compare that to Siege any more than any other. The only thing I saw when watching that gameplay and comparing it to Siege was they're both first-person shooters, and they both have heroes/operators. There was definitely a way more magical element to those heroes and their abilities, more similar to Overwatch than what I would say Siege. I think the reason that they're avoiding the Overwatch comparison is because they don't want people. I think they've recognized that people don't like ultimates in games, and Overwatch has these crazy ultimates that are insta kills, you know what I mean? And I don't think that this game is going to have any of that. I think that the way I've seen it described is that the abilities or the ults or whatever you want to call them are going to be tools that will help you win gunfights and stuff like that. And from what I saw, that was kind of there for the most part. I mean, there was and I think in the first clip you see a dude throw up a wall, and then the other operator or hero, send out a gadget that allowed you to see all the enemies through walls. And then he just kills somebody. You know what I mean? That's okay. That's pretty strong. I mean, but yeah, I don't see how you can compare it to Siege when it doesn't have destruction and when you're not aiming down sights. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only weapon that was aiming down sights was the sniper. It's literally, I mean, it's CS:GO with heroes. Like, you don't aim down sights. Yeah. You run around with a knife. You buy your class at the beginning of the round. Like, it's CS:GO with heroes.
That shocked me.
And
yeah,
I mean, from a creative perspective, I kind of like look at that and I'm like, man, like, imagine making this game and not bringing anything new to the table. But on the other side, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Clearly, the CS:GO formula works and it provides a good setting for competitive play. So if they can tweak that with the hero element, and maybe that is something that could be a good formula.
I think there's a lot of there's a lot to be seen. I mean, sure, we've only seen the trailer, but the CS:GO formula kind of works for people that are really into CS. It doesn't work for anyone else, right? Because the idea of recoil leaving your crosshair is really unintuitive to most people. I played a ton of CS, and when you then go to a game where you can ADS, where your bullets hit where you aim, it's a lot different. Can you move while shooting? Are you accurate while moving? Right, that instantly decides if the COD players will have the same interest in it as the CS:GO players, for example. And then we hear all these people saying that, well, I mean, it's been kind of a meme, right? Everyone's gone pro in in Project A now. Let's maybe wait, because I've heard that every single time a new game came out and people don't really deliver on those promises.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks like, did you guys ever play Dirty Bomb or see it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was a free to play, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Dirty Bomb's downfall was cheaters. It just within a month the game was messed up beyond belief because of like an influx of cheaters. But it has some really interesting mechanics. It was kind of cartoonish, but still pull some of the proper like esport shooter stuff to the table. The wallhack stuff we saw in the trailer looks straight out of Blacklight Retribution, where you had your HRV, Hyper Reality Visor, I think it was called. You could press a key and you'd get this vision, the wallhack that just looks through the entire map. You could see every player. And every single player in the game had that. So it was to speed up the game and make camping literally impossible. But you couldn't shoot while you did it. So, like you said, with like in terms of direction, I'm not even talking art direction, but like gameplay direction for that game, it just seems like they took good components from every other game. And I mean, that's great, but a little bit of a cheap way to get there if you don't bring some new stuff in.
I think what I would add to that is, you know, I would challenge anyone to watch that gameplay and say, and not immediately think CSGO in their head if they've seen any CSGO. I would challenge anyone because it just immediately reminds you of CSGO. And I think what is a little bit disappointing about that is they've created this brand new game that has got nothing to do with Counter-Strike, and yet you immediately get that vibe from it, whereas they had an opportunity to do something really completely original, like Ubisoft did with Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, it's got that competitive first-person shooter aspect of 5 versus 5, but you wouldn't look at a bit of gameplay from Rainbow Six Siege and go, "Oh, that's like CS:GO." It's nothing. It looks nothing like it. So whereas when you look at that, that's just totally the vibe you're getting, even if it does have this kind of fantasy element, which I personally think is disappointing. Because if I was one of those developers just sat in an office, just basically trying to ape off CSGO, I'd be like, why don't we just do something that's ours and own it?
It's funny because there's this game, I think it's in beta right now, made by a guy called Too Good. If people are into esport, they probably know him. He had a lot to do with Quake, and played some World of Warcraft back in the day as well. But he made a game called, or at least worked on making a game as well, called Diabolical or something, which was it's based off Quake 3, I think. And they added in bugs and glitches on purpose that were used in old school Quake. So something like corner clipping. If you moved with enough speed, you can clip through like a certain amount of pixels on a corner, so it doesn't stop you. Like they added in all of these small things that actually take in a modern engine. It takes effort to put them into the game, but to keep that old school competitive movement of an arena shooter, and that looks less like Quake than Project A looks like CS.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be a copy of Quake.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy in that respect. In all honesty, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm excited to play it. I hope it's really good. I think it probably will be really good. You know, one of the things that immediately jumped out to me is it'll probably run on about any PC. I mean, it looks super simple. The maps look pretty small from what I saw. You know, like CS. CS will run on a lot of different PCs. I mean, yeah, you might not get the highest frames, but I mean, it'll run on a lot. It's a lot easier to run than what Rainbow Six Siege is, for example. One thing I haven't heard, are they going to release it on console? That's a big question.
I was wondering that. I was wondering that.
I don't think they're gonna.
That's a missed opportunity for that. Why? Why not? You know what I mean? Like,
because I think they wanna do it then on the esport market. Yeah. The console's not gonna have anything to do with that. That's for sales and for enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to make a first-person shooter for console and then make a league for it. I just don't believe that.